Or am I, okay, something happened. Can you hear me? Tigers did it because they are the only ones, only get this up.
Kindly go ahead, Prof.
So I want you to understand, as young leaders in business and society, building industry requires top thinkers, both in government and private sector. So it's not about you having a successful business. It's about you having a successful business, then within your own sector, working with others in your own sector to build a bigger industry in your sector, bigger market share, so that you're industrializing your sector. You are building market share domestically. By the time you export, you are somewhere else. So that's why the so-called informal sector is always the starting point, because that's what we have. Now, we in Africa call it informal sector. In Asia, they call it proto-industry. So that is part of official industrialization strategy, because all industrialization starts artisanal. But in Africa, we've been taught, no, you chuck that away, it's informal, it doesn't need the policies, people who are working outside the system. Proto-industry means you are manufacturing without a factory. And I can tell you that from 1980 to 1990, China was poorer than us, but they moved faster than you can ever think by accelerating mass production and going into proto-industries. You know that 10 years later, here in Africa, we're eating, for example, those noodles from China. And we thought, oh, no, those noodles initially were just produced for local consumption in China. And when they were fed up with their own, they started exporting to us. You see, produced in villages and townships. Noodles are not produced in Beijing. They don't, like we produce maputi in Harare. It should be criminal to produce maputi in Harare, in snack foods. You should do that in the township and consume them as closely as possible. It's only when the proto industries start upgrading from artisanal to small machines, we need to see proliferation of these small machines in the countryside, because that's how you increase labor productivity. Small machines for everything, from preparation of foods, textile, to basic garment making, leatherware, and so on and so forth. Because it's those small machines which not only increase labor productivity, especially for young people and women, but also increase income quicker. And then that's only when you start seeing serious light industry in the small towns. So when I say industrialize the small towns, it is still to start in the village and township by pushing the proto industries. By the time you get into the smaller towns, you have light industry. Light industries are what produces the demand for heavy industry. Heavy industry is where you go into the steel mills, the foundries, the major energy, water, etc., because there is a loss of light industry. You don't build a steel mill to supply as insignificant light industry. So young leaders build the whole industry, work together to build the proto industries and see them grow into light industries, because that's how you're going to get those machines, reverse engineer the machines until you stop importing the Chinese Changfa machines and so on, because now there are so many of them, you can now prefabricate those machines here. And that's how everyone else before us has done it. There's no other way for us for now. We just have to get all those technologies in there and reverse engineer them, and the young people can do it. Don't expect anyone to do that for you. Next slide, please. So I would like to dwell a little bit on this chart, because the opportunities are everywhere. I've given you this whole cross-section of sectors, because young people should not restrict yourselves to what you think is sexy. Everything is actually sexy. As soon as it makes money, guess what? It becomes sexy for young people. So I know that when we speak generally, we see on the left here, we say primary industries. That's where we have our extraction, mining, and agriculture, and so on. leading into the secondary industries, which is your manufacturing and then your services. And then as your society transforms further, the quaternary sector, the knowledge sector, which you should not neglect the knowledge sector, young people, because it's not only about innovation, it's about understanding the primary sciences, it's about understanding deeper all the primary knowledge so that we can overtake the current leaders. Otherwise, we will only play catch up and never be able to exceed them. And the quinary ones is where they kill us. Is culture and research, because at the end of the day, everything you sell is culture. You're selling culture. When you go to a fast food restaurant, McDonald's or KFC, you're not buying food. You're buying culture, actually, because the food you're buying is junk. I mean, your mother and grandmother can cook healthier and tastier food, but you go and pay more there for that one because you're buying culture, because it's about being seen to be there. We're also there. So everything, fashion, architecture, it's ultimately selling our culture by modernizing it and not westernizing it. Young people, Western people and Eastern people are tired of coming to Africa, and we sell them the same thing they are running away from. The British, the Americans, the Germans are tired of Western clothes and Western food. They come here, we put them in our hotels, they look like they're back in New York and they watch Western movies and Western news. No, young people, sell them modern African products, all the way from the hospitality, the architecture, the fashion, the cuisine, the storytelling, tell our stories. That's what people buy.